It was just after midnight when Emily Harris heard the sound. At first, she thought it was a baby crying somewhere far down the road. The sound was high-pitched, desperate, and deeply unsettling. Emily lived alone on the edge of a small town in Arizona, where the desert met scattered houses and dirt roads. Nights were usually silent there, too silent. But this sound was getting closer. Slowly, carefully, Emily walked toward her front door. And that's when she heard it again. A cry. Right outside her porch. Her heart started pounding. Emily grabbed her phone, turned on the porch light, and looked through the peephole. What she saw made her breath catch in her throat. Standing on her porch was a bobcat. Its eyes reflected the light, glowing pale yellow. Its fur was dusty, matted, and darkened in places. But what terrified Emily wasn't the animal itself. It was the sound it was making. The bobcat was crying, not hissing, not growling. Crying, like it was in pain. Emily froze. Every instinct told her to stay inside. Bobcats are wild animals, dangerous, unpredictable. But the sound came again, weaker this time. The bobcat lowered itself to the wooden porch floor and let out another broken, almost pleading cry. Emily noticed something then. The animal wasn't aggressive. It wasn't trying to break in. It was waiting. Hands shaking, Emily called local animal control. No answer. Then wildlife services. Voicemail. She looked back through the window. The bobcat had turned slightly to the side, and that's when Emily's face went completely pale. Wrapped tightly around the bobcat's back leg was a metal wire snare. The wire had dug deep into the flesh. Blood stained the fur beneath it. The animal's leg was swollen, trembling uncontrollably. Someone had set an illegal trap, and this bobcat had somehow escaped, just barely. But instead of running into the desert to die alone, it had come here, to her door. Emily's hands flew to her mouth. She realized something terrifying and heartbreaking at the same time. The bobcat wasn't just injured. It was asking for help. Emily had never touched a wild animal in her life. She knew one wrong move could get her seriously hurt or worse. But the bobcat let out another weak cry and tried to stand. It collapsed. That was enough. Emily slowly opened the door, just a few inches. The hinges creaked loudly in the quiet night. The bobcat lifted its head. It didn't attack. It didn't run. It just looked at her, eye to eye. Emily whispered, "It's okay. I won't hurt you." Her voice trembled. She backed into the house and grabbed a thick blanket, a flashlight, and a pair of heavy gloves. Her mind was screaming at her to stop, but her body moved on its own. When she stepped back outside, the bobcat hadn't moved. Its breathing was shallow now. Emily gently threw the blanket over the animal, careful to keep her hands away from its claws and teeth. The bobcat flinched, then went still. Very slowly, Emily examined the wire. It was wrapped so tightly that cutting it wrong could make things worse. She needed help, immediately. This time, she called a local wildlife rescue she'd once seen on Facebook. Miraculously, someone answered. Emily spoke fast, her voice breaking as she explained what was happening. The rescuer on the line went silent for a moment, then said, "Do not try to remove the snare yourself. Keep the animal calm. We're on our way." It felt like hours, but in reality, it was just under 20 minutes. Emily stayed outside the entire time, sitting several feet away, speaking softly so the bobcat wouldn't panic. At one point, the animal lifted its head again and pressed it gently against the floor, almost in relief. Headlights finally appeared at the end of the dirt road. Two wildlife rescuers jumped out of the truck, moving quickly but calmly. They approached the bobcat with practiced precision. Within minutes, the animal was sedated. As they carefully cut away the wire, one of the rescuers shook his head. If this had stayed on another day, he said quietly. The leg would have been lost, or worse. Emily felt her knees weaken. She watched as they placed the Bobcat onto a stretcher and into a transport crate. Before closing the door, one rescuer looked at Emily and said something she'll never forget. Wild animals don't come to humans like this unless they're out of options. The truck drove off into the night. Emily stood alone on her porch, the silence rushing back in, but everything felt different now. 3 weeks later, Emily received a call. The Bobcat had survived. The leg was saved, and once fully healed, it would be released back into the wild, far from traps, far from roads, but alive. Emily walked out onto her porch that night and listened to the desert. For the first time, it didn't feel empty. It felt grateful. Because sometimes even the wild knows exactly where to go. When it